me see.
Live streamed. You got the there we go.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Live from Central Texas, this is the Plutopia Happy Hour. Our guest tonight is Spike Gillespie, who is en route, I believe. And we will be looking on with great anticipation for her arrival. But in the meantime, the Not Ready for Cable News players are here. Our foreign correspondent, Maggie Duvall, in Taos. I'm Scoop Sweeney. I'm just foreign. I'm not going anywhere. And that guy over there, that's John Lebkowski. He's got a new camera. Look, you can see all the zits right there in the middle.
You're in a zit-free zone. And Spike is on her way, connecting to audio.
Hey, there she is.
Hello.
Oh,
Right.
my God.
How are ya?
Oh, you.
Hey, I'm going to plug in my hotspot because as usual, I'm in a weird, shitty Wi-Fi situation. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
That's what makes it fun.
So meanwhile, we'll just sit here and hum the Jeopardy song.
That's right.
Just
Just got a new
No, maybe not.
book today.
There we go.
What's the book?
The Red Caddy by Charles Bowden. Into the Unknown with Edward Abbey. So there you go.
Oh, cool. I see a picture of Spike.
Yeah, I'm trying to switch over from my Wi-Fi. I'm trying to make my Wi-Fi work. But you know what? Wow. Where did you guys go?
We're here.
We are here.
You're there. You were replaced by you and a horse. Oh, there you are.
I didn't
There
know.
we go.
I didn't know. Look, you're not the boss of me. I got my T-shirt on.
Well,
Well, I found out something Maggie posted today, which is that woman was created from Adam's rib, meaning she is the property of Adam, meaning women are the property of men, and
That's right.
we can just do whatever the hell we want with them. And
That's
I
right.
didn't know that. I've been trying to tell
Well,
Marsha all day, and she's been
congratulations.
resisting.
gee, I'm,
Oh, man.
So how does it feel to be a rib?
Rib for your pleasure.
well, you arrived late, so I didn't get to do your introduction when I said that you are our guest tonight, and you're here to
Wait,
sing the
what's
praises of Smithville and the Republican Party. Well, maybe not.
Did we start at 7? Am I really late?
We started at 7, and you're not really late.
Oh, good. Okay, because I know I've lost all sense of time and space. I seceded recently.
I noticed your absence.
Yeah.
Though I see that you're still on Instagram.
That's right.
I am on Instagram. It's been an interesting to observe the different platforms. But since this is your show and not my show, how about I let you lead instead of me leading?
Well, no, that's okay. We can lead each other. But I did get a text message the other day from Mark Zuckerberg asking what the hell happened to Spike Gillespie. Where did she go?
You saw that, I don't think they did good this quarter because I'm gone. It's the entire Facebook is quieter now.
That's right.
That is for sure.
Well, I'm sad. The part I'm sad about is quite simple. I know people when they think of me in Facebook, they think of me as ranting and ripping off heads and shitting down lungs. But I feel like the thing I used to Facebook for the most or the best was fundraising. I've raised, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's exaggeration, whatever. I've raised a lot of money for a lot of causes. Casa Marianella is top on my list. In fact, I am currently looking into hosting a family of 12 Afghani refugees. I love Casa. Yeah. And I every year on Facebook on my birthday, I do a fundraiser for Casa Marianella and I raise a shit ton of money. my housekeeper's daughter needs knee surgery, and they're falling in between the cracks of Obamacare and CHIP. And so I am doing a GoFundMe right now, but it's just not the same on Instagram. That's not a complaint. Instagram is way more visual, and I think it's way less argument, and it's way less fundraising. So I miss that. I also miss being able to motivate people into action. I think that's what Facebook helped me to do a lot, but it was not worth it anymore. One of my former students just went fucking, I know we're live streaming. I could cuss, right? Went fucking ballistic on,
cuss.
Okay. Went ballistic on me. And this guy threatened to kill me, which had happened in Smithville. This was some young skate punk in Austin. He didn't like that I was upset that Wheatsville kicked me out. Like, so Wheatsville tries to kick me out and ultimately gives me a death threat on Facebook from a 28-year-old guy that wants to meet me in the fucking parking lot and duke it out. Like, that's me. I have a super, super, super high threshold for craziness, chaos, violence, aggression. And I'm like, you know what? That's twice in a year somebody threatened to kill me on Facebook, and my students going apeshit on me. And she's calling my friends behind my back to talk to them about me. I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I mean, there's a problem with visibility sometimes.
Yes.
And, at least you're not a conservative justice of the Supreme Court. I hear they're getting lots of flack lately.
Oh, I've got to go look that up. You know, it's funny. Right before I got on here, I was reading. Did y'all catch the article in the Times today about the CPCs? That's the crisis pregnancy centers.
No.
Mm-hmm. What's
up?
Those are the places with the ambiguously named. It will usually here's the guy that has the movie titles with 3 names: Steven Seagal, Sweat Like Pig, like that kind of thing. So these women's centers will have like pregnancy options,
right?
And the options are, well, do you want us to baptize you here or over here? So I was getting this idea, like, forget the clinics. I'm going to start protesting at the CPCs. But I'm not leaving my house, so that won't work.
Well, Texas is real big on the whole abstinence campaign. So those kind of centers, I mean, they were just promoting abstinence and, hang on to the baby and, just ridiculous stuff that the people that were going in there were expecting something different than what they find.
And once they get you in there, you're in so much stress anyway. But I just want to say that abstinence is working great for me right now, and has been for the last several years. I also I don't have a uterus either. Pinch for a bigger view. Oh, I'm going to pinch you. Oh, you're showing me something. I thought my computer was going wacky.
No. This is actually, this is just the Wikipedia article for crisis pregnancy centers.
And they're women now, and this is going to grow exponentially with the Supreme Court thing. They will now be living like way closer logistically. There's CPCs everywhere. The guy who started CPCs encouraged people, like, with the language to use and geographically how to locate them around, around abortion clinics.
Right.
Well, our great governor, that's in quotes there, Abbott, he's really into the whole protection of the newborn, except, as long as they're white and they're citizens, you can give them Similac, but if you're an illegal alien, he wants to keep that. That's being unpatriotic, giving baby formula to illegal babies.
Well, I mean, I think we have to work our way around. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll hold my thought.
I was just saying, I think we have to work our way around to their perspective, because I think we often sort of talk about the things that these people that we're concerned about are doing from our perspective of how the world works and what would be right. And, it's always an eye opener for me to encounter something like that thing Maggie posted today, and that bit about, women as property, Adam's rib. You kind of, in order to really understand the shit that they're pulling, you have to get into their heads.
And you don't want to do that because it's scary in there.
Well, I mean, I just think to try to understand, because I don't think we do a good job of fixing the problem unless we really, really are completely understanding of what the problem really is. And I realize that it helps me, at least it helps me to think about it, if I really understand what their perspective is, because I really, I keep looking at it from my perspective is what I'm saying. And it doesn't work to just do that. You kind of have to work around to their perspective and understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they're saying what they're saying. Because part of looking at it from your own perspective, you kind of think, if I just bring reason to them, if I just speak reasonably, if I just kind of lay things out for them, they will change their minds. But this helps me to understand that you're just not going to change their minds very easily or readily, because they are so deeply committed to a perspective that seems alien to me,
I want to jump in there and say, you just named the major commonality that you have with them, because they could be sitting around right now saying the identical statement about so-called us. And for me, I'm not saying that like gotcha. I'm saying that like I look for stuff like that from a Buddhist perspective. I briefly attended AA. That's a topic for another day. I don't like AA, but one thing they really drill home at AA is look for the commonalities. So I may have told this anecdote before, and if I did, y'all, please stop me. But I had the amazing, mind-blowing experience of getting inside the head of a pro-lifer in the modern era. So I'll just real quick background. My parents, Catholic, had 9 children. My father bought a double-length station wagon, a utilitarian station limousine, not like a rich people limousine. He painted our names alongside. He painted a question mark in anticipation of a 10th child that didn't come. He painted Proud Mary on the front, and on the back in massive fluorescent letters, he painted in like Old English script, abortion is killing your own child. Now, he never told us what abortion was. And he had 1 day off per week, and he spent that day at the hospital where I was born, picketing against abortions. So he had 9 children at home that he neglected, he abused, he hated, he was violent with. And now, so this becomes a trigger for me when I grow up and become a feminist and find out what abortion is. I thought people were honking at us because we had a cool car. No, he made us be part of his political statement. So whenever I would go to the Capitol and see little kids with tape on their face, I would get furious. I would be like, fuck you, don't bring your kids into this. But then I raised my son at the Capitol protesting the Mideast war. So I do the same thing. So I had just finished a 10-day silent retreat. It was June of 2013, I think. And it was, so 10 days of silence. I'm driving home. I literally don't have my voice because I haven't used it. I called my son. My voice was cracking. He's like, do you know what's happening in Austin? I said, no, I've been in a dark room meditating for 10 days. He said, well, you should look it up. Wendy Davis stuff was going on. So I get back to Austin, and I think this cause is so important to me. I have to be there. But I also think I just meditated for 10 days at a spiritual gathering where I want to be a better person. I want to be less pugilistic. I want to come at life a different way. How can I do that? So I made a sign, a big poster, and it said, ask me about my abortion. And I went to the Capitol and I stood in the rotunda in the circle on the star. People were circling me. I feel like I told you guys this short story, like sharks. They were circling me. Someone had a crucifix. And this woman, and we had on our team colors, right? I'm wearing orange. They are wearing blue. This woman in blue comes up to me. She was probably about 20 years older than me. She very quietly says, will you tell me about your abortion? She was not being sarcastic. She wasn't looking for a fight. So I explained to her that when my son, my firstborn child was, I think 5, I got married to this guy who turned out to be literally certifiable psychopath. And when I found out I was pregnant, I knew that he was going to use his rich Mormon parents' money to take that child from me and make my life hell. I wasn't going to do that. Even though my whole life I had been pro-choice for others, and I thought, I don't think I ever could have an abortion. It was the easiest, best, fastest, smartest decision I ever made, and I don't have a single regret. So for me, what I get mad is when people say, you're going to feel so guilty and so bad. I'm on my soapbox. I'm almost done. So when I told the woman my story, she said, thank you. And then she said, God bless you. But she didn't say it like, bless your heart. And maybe because I just came from a Buddhist retreat, I received it as she intended it. So and my friend Jill walked up just then. Jill has seen me rip people's heads off. She could not believe it. I have a photo of me and that woman. So later that afternoon, I'm almost done, I was in another part of the Capitol, and it was getting very heated, very heated. And this guy, I came that close to getting hooked by him. He was going on and on about murdering babies. And I remembered what that conservative woman did. And I went up to him and I said, what's your story? His daughter, his 13-year-old daughter, had just died of cancer. I think in his mind, he felt like we were advocating random murder of children when all he wanted was his child back. So it's corny, but true. I think when we take the time to listen to each other, but it's so polarized now. I don't listen to conservatives. I want them to just all like shrivel up and die. That's not true. I have conservative friends. But you know what? I don't want to sit down and hear somebody explain to me why they're pro-life. I just want them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I know. I mean, from a Buddhist perspective, we're them and they're us, right?
We're one.
So
we're not. We're one.
So somehow we have to remember that, and that's kind of what you did there. I mean, it sounds like that's probably the perfect way to go. You all can watch your story. That absolutely makes
that
sense.
Woman taught me. That woman, I was holding a sign to sort of bait people, and she took me at face value. And I think whenever I remember to take people at face value, not every time, because there's Smithville.
Right.
But the other thing I'm doing now is, like I said earlier, I seceded. My tiny house got delivered to the ranch the other day. I've seceded from Smithville, from Texas, from Travis County, from the patriarchy, from the universe. And I will still vote and stuff. I'll enter the matrix to do that. But there's not enough time for me to wait for legislation. So what I'm doing is I'm very openly starting an underground abortion community. Mm-hmm. I've let people know that it seems ridiculous to me that we have to talk in code speak and whatnot. I am willing to go to prison. I don't, let me make it clear. I do not want to go to prison, but I am in a position where I'm single. I'm almost 60. I have money. My son is launched. If somebody is going to sue me for providing an abortion, I'll take the headlines. I'll be a great spokesperson for that. In the meantime, I'm trying to build up a group of 200 people. And anytime somebody needs an abortion, then I say to everybody, hey guys, your dues are coming up. I need $5 from everybody. I just helped a woman get an abortion the other day, and she had missed the cutoff to get the morning after pill by one day. She had found a place to go in another state that I won't name. She just needed help renting a car. I also know that she doesn't have a car or drive a car. She's a bicyclist. This woman, in her condition with her hormones, her stress, and all the rest of it, was going to drive through the night because she couldn't afford a hotel room to get to this destination. And I said, you know what? No, we're not doing that. I bought the plane ticket. I have a group of friends who shall remain unnamed. And we collected a lot of money. And she said to me, she's like, I want to send you, I really have an appointment and stuff. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. You can do that. Thank you. I believe you. And then she was going to stay at like a flea bag motel. I think it really confused her because I said to her, this is my wish. I want you to get a good hotel. I want it to have room service in case you don't feel like getting up. And I want you to, and I'm not saying this, I don't deserve a medal at all. I'm talking about now when you're pregnant and you need an abortion or you want an abortion or getting an abortion is your hobby, whatever reason you want to have your abortion, you have to jump through so many more hoops. When I got my abortion, I made an appointment. I went in. Oh, and by the way, this is just a little fun fact. When I went for my post-abortion checkup, the doctor, Fred Hansen, who's no longer there, at 32nd and Red River, he said to me, these were his exact words. He had to do an exam with this ultrasound that looked like a massive dildo. So imagine this really relaxing scenario. I'm lying on the table. I've just had an abortion a week prior. I've got this old man with his dildo, and he goes, he says, your jeans are going to fit a lot better when they get that out. I had a malignant ovarian tumor the size of an orange that had been missed in my checkup. I had a checkup 3 months prior. Either it wasn't there and grew rapidly or they missed it. But my point is, not only did my abortion save my mental life and I got a divorce and didn't have to deal with that guy, it literally saved my life. It got cancer out of my body. Out of my body. So it's not like I'm rewarding or spoiling, like, oh, go stay at the Four Seasons. I'm saying that making abortions so difficult to get adds 20 layers of shit, emotional shit, traveling, taking off time for work. If you get caught in some stage or whatever, you're a murderer. It's crazy.
Right. And after my second abortion, the jackass I was dating at the time, instead of like, hey, let me look after you, let me take care of you so you can heal and everything and just rest, he wanted to go look at motorcycle jackets, right? I mean, so being able to, just a little nurturing, right? It's just like anything when you go.
We need nurturing, and that goes back to everything too about listening to people's stories. But like, how can we ever get back to a place where we can listen? I find it really hard to listen these days.
I think that some of the pro-lifers, the people who, and I kind of hate the idea that this is like pro-life versus right to choose. Right to choose makes sense.
Anti-choice.
Pro-life, you're not anti-life if you choose to have an abortion, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing it for a reason, and it's usually a good reason. But I think what they think is people just want to use abortion as a kind of birth control, that you go out and like get yourself pregnant. Oh, if I get pregnant, I'll be okay. I can just go have an abortion. And I don't think people take it that lightly. I just don't think there's a goodness to it.
And it's only like maybe 6% of abortions are late term, and it has to do, and it has to do with, usually there's a problem, right? There's the baby's stillborn, or it's going to kill the mother or what. So this hysteria over, women are just purposely getting 9 months pregnant and then aborting the baby, and like, wait. Anyway, so it's hard.
But then I think it's so, because the topic, I don't know about, I think for lots and lots of people, it's a hot topic for me, not just because of feminism. It's a hot topic for me because I was raised Catholic and I was completely indoctrinated. So, I forget the other thought I was going to, there was some thought I was going to say about what you said about the percentages. I forgot already. It'll come back to me.
I'm really impressed by what you're doing, because I had the experience of being made aware of what abortion was all about back in the early 70s when I was working in the radio in Houston. And one of our volunteers was pregnant as a result of an encounter with a local right-on radical dude who immediately disavowed everything, and she's just trying to figure out how to get an abortion. And you couldn't get it in Texas in those days. And I was able to, give her a ride to the airport and then pick her up after when she returned. And just listening to her talk about feeling like a piece of meat that was being shipped coast to coast for no good reason, and that no one really cared about it. I mean, she apparently stayed in a shitty hotel. I wish I'd have known about to do things like you're doing, and that made, I'm sure, a big difference in the experience of the person you were talking about, because my poor friend came back and she was just traumatized for months just because it was all her fault in her head because of the way everyone treated it. No one wanted to take responsibility. No one wanted to talk about it.
Right.
When I was on the table having my abortion, I remember they gave me some kind of sedative. So I was, probably Valium. And I remember I started crying and I started saying, he's so violent. I have to get away from him. And the nurse clutched my hand and she said to me, and these are the people that lead me to the place I am today. This is why I know what people need. And she said to me, you can cry, she said, and it doesn't have to be a reason. Like, she was obviously used to seeing people who feel so much shame. I read years ago in an Alice Miller book, like, even if you're not raised Judeo-Christian, it is so pervasive and ubiquitous, it's going to rub off. You're adjacent. You can't get away from it. And similarly, I a couple of times I protested at clinics, but it dawned on me, if I'm driving in for an abortion and I see 200 people with signs, I am not stopping to discern who wrote what on their sign. I see 200 people and I'm flipping out. So, and another problem I had with protesting at clinics is, and this leads me to a story where I went, a friend of mine was having an abortion. She was terrified. I offered to go with her. To my great surprise, she took me up on it. And suddenly I'm in a room with someone having an abortion. Now I'm getting to observe what has happened to me, and I'm getting to observe the behavior of the people around her. I won't name the place I went. I will say that out in the parking lot, there was a guy, I went in and reported it, talking very angrily on his phone to somebody saying, she's in there, bring it. Like, I think he meant a gun, right? So that's the stress in there. And I'm holding my friend's hand and the nurse comes in and you could tell she was like a radical liberal and she was doing this for feminism. Well, guess what? That sucked as bad as if she had Mother Teresa and they're telling her not to have an abortion, because what my friend said was, I'm really scared. I had one before. I think I need more laughing gas or whatever it was. And the nurse looked right at her. I was there. This is not hearsay. I was there. The nurse said to her, oh, she said, I'm afraid I'm going to move around. She goes, you're not going to move around or the doctor's going to really hurt you. She actually said that. Now, the doctor, when he came in my memory, I have this memory that he was European. I just remember an accent. I wondered, like, oh, does he have to travel here? Anyway, he was so kind and compassionate. He held her hand. He comforted her. So it's really, to me, it's not just the issue of like anti-choice or pro-choice. It's how do we show loving kindness and support for women who are feeling increasing pressure. I had a child when I was 26 years old. I love my son more than anything in the world. I was also not prepared to have a child at 26. I didn't quit drinking until I was 35, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm just saying, like, if I had been raised in a home where I was taught contraception, where I was taught have respect for your body, where I was taught you walk away from somebody not because you hope they'll chase after you and in a fucked up relationship, you walk away because you respect yourself. I did not know any of those things. I'm not blaming people, but I'm saying I think as we grow more kind and compassionate, if we can grow more kind and compassionate, let's face it, abortion, the evangelical whatever confederation in 1967, they didn't have a problem with abortion. Abortion is where it is now because somewhere somebody latched onto it and turned it into a hot topic, like working mothers versus stay at home, the mommy wars. It's a media created diversion. You know,
not just media created.
It
was created by politicians, right? It was they were looking for a political issue that they could focus on. This is what I've been hearing anyway.
Yes, it is. And it's just to keep, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it sort of emerges from that whole like unholy alliance of evangelical Christians with the Republican Party.
The moral majority.
Yeah. Where it's like, you give us what we want, we'll give you votes.
Right.
And one of the aspects of that, this idea of like, we need to take power because white Christians should be running this country. We shouldn't have all of these people of color here, or we can have them here, but they shouldn't be running anything. They shouldn't have any power. I mean, kind of what I think the whole sort of subtext to what's happening right now is that they believe that women should not have power, people of color should not have power, people who think a certain way, people who are not Christians should not have power, people who are liberals, whatever that means to them, should not have power. That really what we should have is a smaller set of white males who run the country. And that, I think, is kind of the agenda.
Well, we've seen how that worked out in the early days with all the white patriarchy. But there's something that I observed from thinking about how abortion was presented back in the 50s when I was growing up in conservative West Texas. I'd never heard the word until I moved to the big city. There was things that happened. Girls I knew went away to live with grandma for 6 months, and that happened a lot. I think it may have even happened to my older sister, but no one was talking about it. She just went to grandma's for 6 months.
And one of those big
that was the way that you said, well, they're getting an abortion, but they're not saying it out loud because it was it was a shame. It was embarrassing to the family. It was embarrassing to the church. But you never said the word abortion. I never heard it until like 1970.
In one of those Big Spring groups that they have on Facebook, somebody posted the other day that they were really sure that there had never been an abortion in Big Spring.
Probably not, because they were all set elsewhere.
Well, one of the
I
things,
suspect it's not true.
Yeah,
one of the things that I have studied in great detail for many years, kind of going back to what Spike was talking about, like, trying to learn to listen or see where they're coming from or whatever, I've been fascinated with religion, organized religions, and go figure, I'm a minister. So I guess, I study all this stuff. And my mom, thankfully, after being accidentally Episcopal for a while, she left the church because she hated the fire and brimstone. And then, she started exploring all these different alternatives and so on and so forth. Anyway, I've been, because of her exploration, as I've shared with y'all before, I was accidentally Mormon for 2 years. Because my mom was taken by
I married a Mormon.
And so that was one of the most invaluable experiences I ever had, though, because I saw the inner festering workings of that church. And, some of the beliefs you talk about, the reason why Mormons have so many kids is that they are creating vessels for the new, Christ's kingdom on earth, right? So, you have to pump out all these kids, to bring God's kingdom on earth, blah, blah, blah. And the thing that I'm really glad I was in at this time I was too, because it was right around when I was 11 and 12. And, in their Sunday school stuff, they have these different levels. It's almost like being in the Girl Scouts or whatever. You get these little badges. And there's like this, you put your little badges on your hanging and everything. And I was in the group called the Merry Misses. Like, and what we were learning is to be good handmaidens to the Lord, basically. It was like,
oh my God,
your job is to be a homemaker, is to serve the man. You are blessed among women, you know. And I was sitting in there
Handmaid's
going like,
Tale.
so here I am. My dad, he was really mad at my mom during the time. My dad was an atheist and a Freemason, so go figure. Anyway, he was like, "What the fuck?" And so I had a healthy skepticism, and I would just come back from this even then, going like, "What is this shit? I why would I want this? Like, no, I don't want to like serve a man or whatever." Like, but it was horrific.
Unless he was properly cooked.
Right.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
then
what I was going to say. You
Right.
remember that Twilight Zone episode called "To Serve Man"?
Right,
The aliens come to planet Earth, and they say that their mission is to serve man, and it turns out their mission is to serve man parboiled.
Well,
That's
W.C.
right.
Fields
Because he
observed that children are very good with mayonnaise.
oh yes.
Well, the other thing that was
Oh, go ahead.
Just-
No, sorry, go ahead.
just one more little bit about that. The other thing, so I'm sitting there witnessing in church that the women were all part of, they were called the Relief Society. And I swear to God, every one of them was blonde and everyone was a Stepford wife. And it was like, you know, it really was every dystopian thing you can think of. And it was disturbing to me. I've also studied the FLDS, you know, the polygamist arm with Warren Jeffers, I think that's his name.
Mhm.
The quiverful people,
Yep.
you know, like and it's just repulsive to me. And so that is just, anyway, so I wanted to mention that, and I want to say one more thing, and then I'm going to be quiet for the evening. I just wanted to say, Spike, it's great. I can't wait to tell Hunter, my daughter, about the Underground Railroad, because we were just having a conversation last night. She said, we need an Underground Railroad for women trying to get abortions and for trans kids trying to get the care they need. And
Yep.
and I said, don't worry, I think it's happening, honey. Don't worry. So anyway, that's
We
me.
may need
It's
it for a lot more kinds of people too. I mean, who knows what they're
Right.
coming after?
Well, it's kind of interesting because most of the people who are contributing to the fund, or not, it's not a fund. I'm sorry. We're only going to do it as needed because I don't want a pile of money. I just want as needed. But I was like, oh God, we're all postmenopausal. So then I had to start contacting my son and his friends. I was like, we have an answer. We need somebody with a problem. Get me a pregnant woman. Right. No, I'm kidding. We didn't. But I think that's how we're perceived, and that's not it. I did want to say while you're talking, I actually wrote down notes so I could remember this. 2 really, really great cultural commentaries on these topics. Citizen Ruth is a comedy about abortion that was written by a man, which blows me away. And it is so good. And it really shows how Laura Dern's character, neither side, the militant members, they don't give a shit. They just want a poster child. Laura Dern doesn't give a shit. She'll just go back and forth between and it's hilarious because when the pro-choice people get their hands on her, you can tell because she comes down the stairs, she's wearing a Frida Kahlo t-shirt and Birkenstocks. And then when the anti-choicers get a hold of her, you know, they got her in like Little House in the Prairie shit, whatever. But it's such a dark, dark comedy. Now, another book that I feel like should be mandatory reading for everybody. I mean, and before I forget this point, let us remember that for every high school girl that went away, the dude that knocked her up got to continue playing football, you know? So that's another big thing. But there's a book called The Girls That Went Away. I can't think of the author. The book came out in, I think it was 2006. I remember because I read it when I was in Tokyo. I read it when I was in Japan and I bawled my eyes out. In between 1945 and 1973, we have the baby boom after World War II, and we have Roe versus Wade isn't here yet. So what happens is untold number of girls, teenagers, are sent away to places like the Edna Gladney or whatever, the Gladney Foster, whatever, they're sent away. And that's the name of the book. And what it invariably, they are told the same thing. They don't, the baby's just taken away. I don't know if they knock them out and deliver the baby and they just say, go home, you'll forget about this. Well, of course, none of them forgot about it. All of them were traumatized. And this woman went and interviewed so many of the young women and then some of their adult children and really showed the impact that this had on them, not having an abortion, but being forced to have a child and also be shamed and also be sent away. I'm literally thinking of the girl who I know who got sent away. Oh, there it is. Citizen Ruth was, God, look how young she is. My goodness.
Yeah, really.
And then I also, getting back to that opening question about like, if we could only get inside their heads, one of my employees came to me the other day and it's hilarious. I have all men who work for me now. That wasn't always the case. And I'm getting men roommates. And I laugh because I joke about being a separatist. I'm not a separatist. And there are a lot of men I love. But one of the young men, he's my son's age, came to me the other day and he goes, you know, your friend was here yesterday and she was just going on and on and on about the only way we're going to be able to overthrow this abortion debate is we must take away comfort from all men. She's like, if we take away sex, they'll rape us. If we take away this or that. And she's like, we have to take away comfort, take away the silverware, take away this and that. Like she's really, really getting into it. And then my employee comes to me the next day and he's very mild mannered. He's a really hard worker. He and his brother, I love them. They're moving to the ranch. And he just said to me, you know, he broached the topic really carefully, but he essentially pointed out to me that when I and my feminist friends paint with broad strokes, even if we're joking, we're contributing to the polarization. And I thought about that long and hard because I have a son who's a man, a white man in our society. Mm-hmm. Do I hate him? No. Do I hate these young men who work for me? They are men of color. They're not white men, but still, no. And I like, that hit me really, really hard is that even joking, I have got to stop making broad strokes. And I'm going to do that to a lesser extent with some conservatives. I continue to have many conservative friends. So mostly we don't talk about politics. That's our workaround. But maybe I can listen a little more. I do not think that the majority of conservative people get up in the morning, rub their hooves together, stroke their Van Dykes, and think, how can I make a hippie miserable today? I think they really think they're doing the right thing. And my simple observation of humanity, I'm not the first to make this, is that everybody wants to control everybody else, but nobody wants to be controlled by anybody. That's impossible. We will never solve that. Through all of history, we'll be dead and gone. We'll never solve it. So I'm really practicing now, taking people one at a time and trying to reconnect with. That's another thing I like about being off of Facebook. I'm pretending it's the 80s.
Right. Yeah. And I know that when I was living in the Bay Area, so this is 88 to 95, I had family and friends that lived in the Midwest, right, in New Mexico and all that. And I went on this road trip because I always like doing my road trips. And I just always have this natural knack of being able to talk to people, you know, because I do that. I'm kind of curious about everyone's stories. And I really practice really hard not being reactive. I fail miserably many times, but I try really hard not to be reactive. And I would come back to Berkeley and I would tell people about these wonderful people I'd met, kind of like how you shared in Del Valle and, you know, some of the good people in Smithville that you met. And they go like, oh my God, why are you going to those places? It's savage. Those people are savage. I'm like, which those people are you talking about? Because, you know, I wasn't seeing roving bands of, you know, whatever. It's just, yeah, I do that too. It's like taking, you know, one by one, being in presence with each person. You know, I just had a long talk in the grocery store with the checker about, the fires and everything. And I was just asking her, how's your family doing? And she opened right up and was telling me all about, and it just felt really good that there was that connection there. And it wasn't about these abstract concepts that we're all
exactly
fighting.
You're present, you're in the moment. And look at me, I go to Wheatsville, the politically correct store, and I get thrown out by like a 20-year-old fake hippie. I mean, it really has to be a case by case basis. And as I'm saying that to you, when this is over, I'm gonna shut the iPad and I'll be back in sweeping generalization mode. I'm gonna have to really, really work on it. And if I thank my worker one more time for bringing the topic to my attention, I think he's like, God, I'm so sorry you brought it up. Now you're being like so equal. But I take that shit really seriously. Bob, I may have told this story last time, who lived with me for 14 months. We were at the LBJ Museum for this KUTX fundraiser. I used to be an underwriter, and so I got invited to this fancy event. Bob and I were there. I remember Big Bird was there. It was an installation, and these big birds sitting behind us. We're looking all around, and I said, hey, Bob, did you vote for LBJ? And he goes, no. And I said, is it because he yelled at people when he was sitting on the crapper? He goes, no. I said, why? He goes, because he's a Democrat. Bob and I had lived together at that point for 8 months, and my mouth fell open, and I looked at him and I smiled. I said, I need you to move out by tonight. This is the man. This is the man. I will go to my grave. He is the person who brought the most healing to my life, the most kindness. And I want to tell you, I'm going to be real vague about this, because even though he's dead, I still honor his privacy. I have had conversations with him where he talked to me growing up in Indiana, being a farmer and a white dude. He was a racist man. And he did not die a racist man. And I remember when we were talking about racism, we were standing right in front of the fireplace because I had this huge portrait of Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is watching over this conversation. And just like the guy that founded Homeboy Industries, Father Greg, what's his last name? He's like, we're great. Hopefully we're all greater than the sum of our parts. I want to know, like, if you are a hardcore anti-choice Christian lady, what do I want to know? Tell me about your quilts. Tell me about your kids. Now, if you bring up politics and try to bait me, and I don't know you very well, and you're just trying to fuck with me, I do know how to walk away now.
Right.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Right.
We really have to avoid the temptation to other people, because that's what gets us into so much trouble, is they're other than me, so there's something wrong with them. And I've watched that play out so many times, and it just never ends well, because you're an other to someone else, and they're an other to you, and it just goes in a big ugly circle of not getting anywhere.
When I was growing up, there's all these jokes that we learned. Of course, a lot of racist jokes. That's what happens when you grow up outside of Philadelphia in the 70s. And then there were these tons of jokes about Polish people, which, we were taught to call Polak. So there's these Polak jokes. I get older, and as a testament to what a really small place I came from with no education, even though at that point I had education, I said to somebody, why are the Polish people the butt of everybody's jokes? Like, I know a lot of Polish people, they're really smart. And my friend said to me, I can't even remember which friend, they were very patient with me, but they're like, every culture has another culture that instead of the Polak joke, maybe it's the Bastrop people joke, or what, you know what I mean? It's interchangeable. It's just like, are you a Jet, or are you I don't even remember, who was the other gang? The Sharks. Are you a Jet or a Shark? You're just doing like with Brexit. Okay, now I'm going crazy. I'm talking about Brexit. But people who voted for Brexit, it was just like pick a team. It was like picking a football team, a soccer team. Where's your allegiance? Oh, England's the best. And now they're like so screwed, People aren't looking I know this. I'm an example. I almost just said I'm never going to vote Republican in an election, but honestly, I voted in the primary in Bastrop just to vote against Stan Gertis. But
Yeah, that's great.
I'm not. People aren't going to persuade. People probably aren't going to change my mind. Why would I expect to change theirs? Which brings me back to the abortion club. I'm going back underground, not totally because I'm a public figure, but I'm just going to start doing more underground punk rock, do it yourself movements that don't involve the government. I'm tired of the government. I'm going to be dead before the white men are kicked out of power.
Right.
So I've taken power into my own hands.
That's totally where we're at. We were just having that conversation the other night, and I was saying we have to do it for ourselves. And I'm already connecting in Taos, like somebody that could give me, like a quarter of a cow for me helping with something. Like, they're telling me, don't worry, Maggie, we got your back, right? It's like everybody's trading like they've been doing for centuries. And
yeah, I'll give you 3 morning after pills for a quart of
milk. Right. Right.
I just keep thinking how much this country soon enough is going to be like it was when I was a kid, which was,
which was scary.
It was, it was a terrible place to be. And it wasn't a terrible place for me because I was a white middle-class kid and my parents made money and everything was okay for me. So I couldn't really see it then, but I can look back now and I can see how really terrible it was for so many people, especially if you were not white. And, if you were a woman, you had to play games to survive, really, that were
couldn't get a credit card, got fired from your job once you were married. Like if you were a flight attendant, there were flight attendants who would try to keep their marriages secret because it was grounds for being fired.
Right.
And if you got raped, there wasn't anything you could do about it. I mean, they wouldn't convict anybody. They wouldn't even prosecute anybody for that sort of thing.
Well, my mom tried, she wanted to divorce my dad many times. And, just like you're saying, Spike, she couldn't get a credit card. He threatened, if you leave me, I'll make sure you never see the kids again. And it probably would have happened. I have no doubt about it. And it's just stuff like that, it's, and that's not that long ago. And what did I read lately that, and that thing I posted, what was it about? Marital rape was not completely outlawed. There was one state holdout or something until like 1993. Like what? What?
And I'm sure, it's still entirely underreported. Why are you going to report a man who sleeps in your bed who rapes you so he can kill you? I'm just, I'm watching the clock. I know we're almost done. There's a place, I've been to Japan twice. I feel very fortunate. And I call them my family, chosen family there in Kita Kamakura, which is where the big Buddha is. Oh my God, Spike just lost her train of thought. Oh, got it. Okay. Also in Kamakura, there's the shrine. The temple. I can't think of the name of it, but in English, it's the divorce temple. What happened was when it started, women could not get divorced in Japan. However, if you could get to the temple and stay there for 2 years, you could be released from your marriage. The part I forgot that somebody just had to remind me of was in order to do that, you had to leave your children behind. Like you had to demonstrate beyond agony that you needed out of this marriage. You couldn't just be like, I need out of this marriage. You have to go to superhuman efforts just to do that. I mean, it's not, John Lennon has a song about women. I'm not going to quote the title on the air, but it's a powerful song.
Yeah, I think we all remember that title, and it was powerful. But the whole idea of discrimination against anything is just so ugly. I watched it actually happen in my own family. My mother was a Choctaw from Oklahoma. Her mother was educated at the Indian Girls School in Indian Territory. And I heard her say nasty things about the Cherokee. And I'm like, wait a minute, What did you say, Mom? I said, the damn Cherokee. I said, you know that your husband, my dad, is part Cherokee. He said, well, don't confuse me with that. And it just went on and on. I'm like, damn, Mama, you're a school teacher. You got to get your facts straight. And that is another Native American tribe that has already got problems. You don't need to be talking a war between the Choctaw and the Cherokee in the 1950s.
I think it has everything to do again again, it pulled a lot of thinking for me together reading Isabel Wilkerson's Caste book, because it's the whole idea of the hierarchy. And when you have hierarchy, everyone stakes their claim on the freaking ladder. And so, just like we wonder why women betray other women, when, they're all it's like, because they've got their place on the ladder. And so you don't want anybody to come out, you got to kick them off so they don't surpass you on the ladder. It's this thinking. And so so for you, Scoop, it was like, oh, wait, we Choctaw have risen way above, we got to stake, everybody's screwed here. So we all got to stake our claim. It's just horrific the way
it's true. That is, it's true. My dad was so racist, but he had one black friend. And I'm convinced the reason he had one black friend was we were given charity bags of clothes at church, and they were really, really shitty clothes. But my dad always scooped some out of the leftovers of the shitty clothes to give to his black friend. And I really think it was like, well, I'm higher up than somebody. My kids are wearing rags, right, but I'm going to do what Jesus said. I'm going to clothe the man with shitty clothes. Right. And and people might argue, well, he was being nice. You can say, I can say whatever I want. I feel strongly that even if it was subconscious, the motivation was hierarchy.
Right. I see that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I have one other.
No, I'm just saying I see it over and over again. It's like a little litmus test. It's like, okay, what do I think is happening here? And it's like, I can see whether it's like women fighting for the attention of a man, that whole like, shrill, like cat fight stuff that they like to promote on reality shows or whatever. It's like, oh, for the love of God. Anyway, but there's always something.
Yes. There's a book. Sorry, I stepped on your line. No. Susan Douglas wrote a book called Where the Girls Are, and it came out like, I don't know, 25 years ago, but it's got these great references. It really, really spelled it out for me how I have been so brainwashed by, I love music. I have always loved music. It is the only connection to my father I have. And she just spells out all the lyrics like, I love him, and where he goes, I'll follow, like all that shit. I'm like, oh my God, we're steeped in it. And I have to say, and I choose my words carefully, I don't want to blame the victims or whatever, or blame women for this, but I do think, men have testosterone and an urge to go outward. I'm making broad strokes, people. Women go inward, or we go like two women in a car accident. Oh my God, are you okay? Oh, I love your nail polish. Men are like, right. So like, we got to get a little more aggressive. We have to get more aggressive, and we have to vote. There's not a lot of motivation to vote. It's like, which white man am I voting for?
Right.
So I am saying we have got to not just vote, but run for office, do subversive things, start underground movements, not wait for this glacier. Sorry, 2-minute warning. I'm done. I saw it.
I'm ready for women to run the country.
I don't want to run.
And also,
who wants to do it? I don't.
Well, maybe nobody has to do it. Maybe it just runs itself.
Maybe we need the matrix more than we thought.
If we could get out of this mindset, there's so many, I've just stopped hanging out with so many women, not because I don't want to hang out with them, but like, I want to talk about things that are going on in the world, or things that are, fascinating to me, or whatever. Right. And it always devolves to the fucking nail polish, or your makeup, or have you lost weight? Or like, it's always about how you look. And then you'll be in a group of women, somebody gives a woman a compliment. about her looks. And then she goes, well, I'm not as pretty as so-and-so. And I'm like, oh my God, could we all find a way to stop this? Because we're just, it's like we're sustaining the bubble of this, it just makes me sad that
whenever I'm in an anorexic state, people always tell me how great I look. And they ask me what my secret is, and I tell them I have a disease.
Right.
And I don't do it to be mean, but I do it to be, I hate that we're even talking about weight, but we have to talk about the image thing. Women do spend a lot of time, men more, instead of women spending less time on it. Now we have metrosexuals. Like now there's products. I want to have good conversations like you. Like, I just want to have good, like this. Yeah.
We have reached the end of the internet.
That was really fun. There used to be a web page that said that.
Yep. I used to go there.
I love it. That was the best page on the website, on the internet. Yeah.
My computer wasn't
All right.
plugged in. I'm surprised it didn't crash.
I got a house full of lady artists that were coming up with subversive things to do. So I'll catch you guys.
On. Have a good art weekend.
You have to return then.
Yeah, okay, subversion is good. Have fun with it.
And thanks for having me, guys. I love a good conversation. Maggie, if you don't mind, will you email me your phone number? I'll text you when I'm heading up that way.
Awesome sauce. I will. All right.
Okay, great.
Off we go. Thanks again. Thanks so much for coming. We'll see you.